One of the best things about starting a reselling business is that there is no imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, by that I mean like that inner self-doubt, that voice in your head that tells you that like you can't do it, or that tells you that you're a fool, or that you suck, or that you charge too much. Any side hustle you want to start, any business you want to start, almost always, like the bottleneck, the reason why it ends up not being able to succeed is because it forces you to be incredibly confident, incredibly self-assured, almost like a fake it till you make it type of mindset. And for a lot of people, that's just not, it's not realistic. It's not sustainable to be able to sell yourself. Like, if the only path to succeeding is you absolutely crushing it, you're probably like, we're not really that good at doing that, especially if it's a new venture, a new business, a new side hustle, and you're like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do, but you've never done that before, so you don't know for sure that you can. It's difficult. And really, like, I mean, a lot of businesses are like sales oriented, a lot of side hustles. And so how many of X product can you sell? Even if you want to go like Young Living, like, or just pick your whatever MLM product. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to host events. I'm going to have to DM people, and like, and for a lot, like, that's difficult. That's difficult for any like service-based business. Okay, I'm going to have clients, right? They're going to pay me for whatever the service is that you offer. Could be mechanic, it could be yard work, it could be financial services, it could be anything. But if you are being paid by a client, that creates, client to business expectations. And if it's a new business for you, that might be difficult to navigate. And even securing that client and getting that under contract, that might be emotionally difficult, because it involves selling yourself and your services and your abilities, which is going to give room for that inner voice of self-doubt. Like, are you really good enough to be doing this? Should you really be doing that? You should just stick to your normal job. And of course, there are ways to navigate and overcome imposter syndrome. I'm not saying like it's impossible to start any of those other businesses, but I'm saying one of the best things about reselling is you don't have that. Like, literally, it's not like you don't even have to like have a business. Like, you don't have to be a business to sell an item. Like, you have probably sold something on Facebook Marketplace before, and you weren't like, I'm a reseller now. Like, you weren't like pumping out, there's like Facebook ads. Like, I don't spend money on marketing. I don't have a listserv. I don't have a funnel. I don't have an email chain. Like, I do send out a newsletter like for just my personal life, but like within my reselling business, like, there's no business, but it makes hundreds of thousands of dollars, um, like lots of revenue, and a lot of profit. Like, I think on the trailing 12 months, I sell on average, like, I've sold 3 times as much in revenue as my cost of inventory. So anything I buy, I'm selling it for 3x on average what I paid for it. But there's no imposter syndrome because I'm selling it for cheaper than it goes for in the store. Like, I'm selling you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70% off retail price. So it's like, I'm not selling me. And what I'm trying to say is, so many other businesses that you start, you end up having to sell you. Whether you're selling you to a client, selling you to a customer, or sometimes just selling you to yourself. There's a lot of sales. There's a lot of just deep inner conviction, inner confidence needed to start most businesses. And with reselling, you really don't need that, because it's just a vacuum. Like, here's this vacuum, and like, do you want to buy it? And like, no, all right. but like someone will want to buy it. Like it's a real vacuum. Like it actually sucks up stuff from the ground and puts it in its canister. You know, like there's a going rate at some price point, you know? And so, great, there's learning a skill of how do I source inventory well and how do I sell my inventory faster or get more for it. And that's part of what I teach in my coaching group, school.com/reselling. If you want me to teach you, I will teach you. SKOOL.com/reselling. Just call me the wizard. So I'm selling myself in coaching. So maybe there's some imposter syndrome, like, but there's not actually much because like I actually have done it, you know. So I'm like, yeah, I could definitely teach you how to do it. But within reselling, you know, take coaching aside, just reselling, there's no imposter syndrome. It really is like I just have like this stuff is for sale. You can buy it if you want it. If you don't want to buy it, that's totally okay. If you sell other products, often there's still imposter syndrome because you're like, is that really worth it? You know, like you could make hats or you could like do artwork or photography or okay, now I'm going to sell this. And like, okay, yeah, someone's willing to pay me $50 for that hat, but like deep down I know like the quality of the hat isn't great. So you're really just paying me like for the design I put on it. And like I guess if you like it, that's cool, but like I don't know, should I be asking that much? And maybe I'd make more if I drop the price. And but if I drop the price, and that totally affects the brand. Artwork and stuff too, of course, super subjective. I'm like, man, am I gonna really charge like $2,500 for this piece? What am I even doing? Like, no one can afford that. There's such imposter syndrome when you're setting your own prices for your own products. There's such imposter syndrome when you're setting your own prices for your own services. There's such imposter syndrome when you're doing something you've never done before and you're having to convince yourself that you're an expert or that you're an up and coming or whatever. There's such imposter syndrome when you have clients that have expectations for you that you don't know if you can meet them as well as they're expecting them. There's a lot of unknowns with starting any business. There's always unknowns, but imposter syndrome, if you like, from what I've gleaned from people that are business coaches, groups I've been a part of, or just people, and even my own experiences of like what I've witnessed, but especially leaning into the experiences of others that have seen a lot more than me, it seems to me that this is the number one reason why a startup fails. And particularly like a side hustle startup. I'm not talking like Silicon Valley venture capital startup. I'm talking like you want to start a business, will it succeed or not? And the people that I know that work with those people, it seems like it's the number one bottleneck, the number one X factor why something succeeds or fails is whether or not the person believed that it would succeed or fail. Basically, their level of self-assuredness, their level of confidence. And what a lot of people end up hitting is some type of wall. They get excited at first, I'm going to do this new thing, it's going to be awesome. And then they hit some type of wall, aka imposter syndrome and inner self-doubt, that leads them to question, and then that affects their motivation, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, of course. And one solution is fake it till you make it, like just pretend, just, you know, suppress that self-doubt for long enough until you do succeed, and then haha. But I think an even better way is, what if there was a business you could start where you don't have to face imposter syndrome? You don't have to face self-doubt. You don't have to make branded anything, push anything. Your friends don't have to buy anything from you. Like, I almost have never had a single friend buy anything from me in all those hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales. Like, it's not like I don't need, and don't get me wrong, like I'd be a better business owner if like I figured out how to do that stuff, but like I don't want to do that stuff. Like, because I don't want imposter syndrome. I don't want to be like, this is the best store ever, it's the newest thing, like everyone, you gotta come. It's like, no, it's just, here's what I'm selling, here's how much I'm saving you. Like, shoot me a message for offers or questions. You know, And it turns out if you have enough stuff for sale, you can sell a lot of stuff. It's it's like it's really doable. It's really doable. So, anyways, I've already explained this enough, but um, let me know in the comments. Have you started a business before? Have you faced self-doubt? Have you faced imposter syndrome? I have started other businesses, and so I like there are pros and cons to different styles of business. But one of my favorite things about the reselling business is you really don't have that imposter syndrome, and I think it makes it that's one of the reasons why it's a really realistic business for someone to start, especially if you don't have prior business experience, you don't already have a large financial nest egg. It becomes that much more important that like it's a realistic opportunity. And with reselling, I feel like it's so realistic, and one of the reasons is you don't have to be the business. You don't have to sell yourself, which means you don't have to face that self-doubt. So if you're interested in getting going, school.com/reselling. All right, talk to y'all later.